homies. It's Dan,
This is Ron.
and this is a nominee questionable movies. And today we have a lot of questions about this. Might be the most questionable movie we've ever watched. You want to introduce it to him, Ron?
Sure. This is a timeless classic, loved by many. I say that completely sincerely and genuinely. And we thought it was shit. Movie is 2003 Christmas rom-com, Love Actually.
But what was the title of the movie actually?
Love,
Actually?
love.
Okay, so we just made a funnier joke than any of the jokes in this movie.
Wait, no. Wait, there was one funny one. When Billy Nye first shows up as the aging rocker singing
the Love is All Around by the Trogs, but he replaces the word love with Christmas.
yes. So that
And
starts off funny.
that starts off funny, and then they redo the same joke, I think, 20 times.
Yeah.
So here's my plot summary of this movie.
Okay.
It's 2 hours and 10 fucking minutes. There you go.
Okay. All right. My summary. It's Christmas Eve, and Robert Altman accidentally took a whole lot of ketamine and then just decided to run with it.
Oh my God. So I guess we have to give some kind of plot summary, or else this is going to be incoherent when people listen to it.
I don't
So,
know. Is there anyone besides us who had never seen it before? I feel like everybody's seen this movie.
really?
Yeah. Oh,
It's such
totally.
fucking garbage, though.
Oh, this movie is so popular.
Really?
Yes.
I have a hard. I mean, I guess maybe that's why the United States elected Donald Trump and is going to die in a biblical flood in 20 years. I don't
Man,
know.
it's a British movie.
Oh man. Well,
But yes.
no wonder Harry and Meghan wanted to leave Britain.
Yeah.
I needed to get some kind of God. Okay, so it's a month before Christmas. We have 5, 6, 8, whatever. You got a lot of people,
And we know that
and
it's a month before Christmas because we get, I want to call it a title card. I don't know what you call it, but it says on the screen, 4 weeks till Christmas, just so we know what the countdown's towards.
right, and it has like movie vibes, right? Because like Hallmark movies always strike me like they're cut specifically for people with Alzheimer's. And this movie might even be worse in that regard. So anyway, so you had 5 or 6 people, and then 5 or 6 other people, and we know who they're going to end up with within 5 minutes of the beginning of the movie. I'm
And
not
it only
going to
takes
dignify them by giving them descriptions. And then we find out they like each other 5 minutes in. There's more scenes where we find out they like each other. There's another title card that says how long it is until Christmas.
Yes, then it's 3 weeks. And then after 3 weeks, do we ever get to 2 weeks or does it jump to 1 week?
I think it's 2 weeks, and then 1 week is a full hour of the fucking movie.
Yeah.
And yeah, so these attractive British people with very good jobs, complain about how hard it is to find love, and then find it in like 4 weeks or
In
less.
front of their face.
And I where to even begin with this movie?
It's an all-star cast.
All-star cast. You got Alan Rickman. You got the not Frodo, the Hobbit guy, whatever his name is.
Oh,
You
now I
got
can't remember it because you just said that.
you got Laura Linney. You got Rowan Atkinson.
What's his name? You Grant.
You got a lot of bland white people who I can't tell apart because white people all look the same to me.
You have a few black people in very minor roles.
Right, and they're all kind of just supporting friends.
Supporting the white people.
Yeah, because clearly they need it. They're in such dire positions of lacking privilege in this movie. You have Billy Bob Thornton as the president of the United States, but this isn't a horror movie. Some fuck called a string blade.
We've got Colin Firth,
Hmm.
Liam Neeson, Keira Knightley.
There's more people in there too, and it's Claudia Schiffer shows up for 2 seconds. Who's the woman from American Pie?
Yeah. If there's anything remotely close to a spoiler in this movie, and it's not really one, it's that
The
Claudia
movie
Schiffer shows
spoils
up.
itself within the first 5 minutes.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. There's no spoilers because you know what's going to happen from the start. You know exactly what's going to happen and who's going to end up with who. As soon because they, I think everyone who ends up with the other person, we see them together in the first scene.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no, I just mean that the Claudia Schiffer joke ends up with a Claudia Schiffer with her showing up.
And it's not a particularly funny joke. I don't feel like you can go to sleep easy tonight. You didn't miss something great. And I guess what makes this movie stand out for me, this movie embodies everything that was wrong about mainstream movie editing in the early 2000s, almost everything that's wrong with modern romantic comedy movies, everything that's wrong with those like Gary Marshall, like let's just pack a bunch of fucking people into a movie that have no business being together. Like Robert Altman could pull this off and did many times. I can't. I don't even want to say the name of the guy who wrote and directed this because he doesn't deserve it. And also, I can't remember it. So he's safe for now. But like, so I guess I'll start with the 2000s editing thing because you don't need to see the movie to understand what I'm talking. I'm sure you've seen a lot of movies that did this. So you have every single scene has to begin with a loud modern pop song, usually not a good one. Every scene is filled with jokes, even though the writers are not funny. You have
Wait, what do you mean by that?
well, so it just keeps trying. It's like trying to do an airplane thing, right? There's like a lot of times when it's like trying to be like, hey, I made it funny. And it never works. Like, we have the one sort of funny moment in the beginning with the guy ruining that perfectly good Trog song. And then, everything has to come together at the end. There's a lot of that, I feel like, in the early 2000s. Like, because the thing with Robert Altman is that he's not stringing it all together so everybody cleanly comes together at the end. Like they'll interact with each other at different points in the movie. So it feels like an expansive world. In this movie, we have almost no idea what the fuck any of these characters have to do with each other until the last 5 minutes of the movie. Well, okay, we know Laura Linney is the prime minister. Yeah.
Well, we get very brief connections throughout, but they're barely.
And so you have and also early 2000, and this is I think 2003 is before Judd Apatow, but just this idea that okay, TV is free. We have to make this movie super long so people feel like they got their money's worth. And I feel like a lot of people walked out of the theater. I don't know. Were there a bunch of people walking out of theaters in the 90s saying the food was so bad and the portions were so small? Mm-hmm. Right? Every character they're almost indistinct. They have their own plot line, I guess. It's like the same thing 8 times over. And the whole time I'm just like, pick the fucking movie you want to make. Because, maybe there's one okay movie in all of this shit that you're throwing in here, but it's not the movie you made because this is not a good movie.
Yeah, I think so. So there is a good movie hiding in there, and that's The Life of the Aging Rock Star. But before you got to this point.
Yeah, because there's little bits of the movie where when the guy decides to just go dark and cynical, he can sort of be funny, but the rest of the time he's just trying to I don't know what he's just trying to do ooh, this is so cutesy kind of shit that never works. There were no stakes.
No stakes
to any of it. Yeah.
No, and the worst you said during when we were watching it, you referred to stakes as in one of the things is an 11-year-old boy is in love with one of his classmates who's from I guess from the US. She was flying, and she's flying back home, and so it was his last chance to see her. And he's running through the airport and past running through the
Right, he
security.
has a bunch of cops chasing him, which, like, if they made the movie today, the cops would have shot the kid.
Yeah, and then he finally sees her. But then when we see at the end of the movie, at the end, so we get to Christmas, and then it's 1 month later. He and his dad are at the airport waiting for them. It turns out she wasn't leaving for good. She
Just
was just
leaving for like
leaving
a
for
week.
Christmas. She was
Yeah.
coming back.
I
There's no.
mean, and like watching that airport security, because like that's a trope in movies that the guy chases the woman down at the airport or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And this movie's made right after 9/11, so they have to have airport security, but the idea of like the security state hasn't fully sunk in.
Uh-huh.
And the whole time I'm watching this like 11-year-old run through the airport with a bunch of cops chasing him, I'm just thinking, like, was 9/11 just a marriage proposal gone horribly wrong? Like this. Hugh Grant is incredibly punchable throughout this entire movie. He's kind of always, I don't really like Hugh Grant. He's sort of like, he's too smooth. He has no dimensions. He's just sort of like a pretty boy. I mean, maybe there's a movie where he shows some range. This is not that movie. And I have not seen that movie.
Well, have you ever seen Lair of the White Worm?
No.
That's one of his first movies, maybe his first movie. I'm not sure. And he's not the star. He's one of several characters in it. Several of the main people in it. But everything that you were just describing about him works really well with his role in this movie.
He's like Johnny Depp. He's a cipher. Like Johnny Depp only has really given one performance. There's not any real range to Johnny Depp's characters, and he's just kind of coasting on being Johnny Depp. And I'm not saying any of this because, like I said, all of this long before that court case.
Oh, yeah.
Hugh Grant might have even less range. And like, if you know how to, if you have a competent director, you can get a lot of mileage out of that, right? Like a lot of the famous comedians of yesteryear, there's not a huge amount of range. There's like one or two things they do really well. And the movie is centered around highlighting those one or two things they do really well. I don't know what they're highlighting in any of these people in this movie. Like, you could have replaced any of the actors in this movie with any other actor, and there would be no difference besides maybe the movie would have been cheaper to
make. Which is a shame, because there's some great actors in this.
Right, and it's really obvious they're all there for a paycheck. Like, Alan Rickman, throughout the entire movie, I mean, he probably gives the best performance because his performance is, I am bored being in this movie. So he's the only relatable character. Right? He seems bored to be there. He's like, oh, yeah. His plot never really gets developed. There's just too many fucking people in this movie for any of it to get developed. If there were well-drawn scenes, you'd get like, okay, you get this kind of like sense of who the person is. Because I've seen movies where you'll have a character in one scene and you get the sense they have like a backstory and everything. John Cassavetes was really good at doing that. But yeah, and in this movie that you have these you start to hate them by, I was going to say the end of the movie, probably like 15 minutes in, because they're just these very fortunate people that just whine about things and then everything works out for them, which is the issue. That comes to my thing where that's the big issue with like modern romantic comedies. A lot of it is that it's like, yeah, love is so hard, and then there's some supermodel that wants to fuck him 20 minutes later, right? Like I was saying when we were watching the movie, like there's more insight about love and relationships and fucking American Pie than this movie.
So Dan, the writer-director, Richart Curtis, do you know what else he's done? Can you guess?
Crack.
He's written, what was that?
Crack.
He's Oh, I remember the joke that I like. Okay, there was a second joke. There was Billy Nye, the rock star. He's on a show and he's saying some like vulgar things, and the one of the hosts says there are kids watching, and so he turns to the camera and says, "Kids, don't buy drugs." I don't know. I burst out laughing.
Become a famous pop star, and people will give them to you.
Right.
And it's a weirdly vulgar movie, right? Like there's a lot of F-bombs.
Yeah.
There's a lot of simulated sex. It wants to be edgy. You know what it reminded me of?
I don't know if it wants to be edgy. Is that maybe edgy for a rom-com sort? No, I don't know about edgy.
Yeah, I don't know. There's all those simulated sex scenes in the beginning with the Hobbit man, whatever the fuck his name is.
Martin Freeman.
Martin Freeman. Okay. Martin Freeman. I don't know if I've seen a Martin Freeman movie that I like.
There's the original The Office, the British version.
Hmm.
He's the main nice guy in
Wasn't
it.
he was in that Simon Pegg Nick Frost movie? What is it? End of the World.
Is he
I
in that?
think. I thought he was in that. I didn't really like that movie very much, but
Did you ever watch the Sherlock Holmes with Benedict Cumberbatch?
no, I've been meaning to watch that because I did like what the heck is the guy who wrote Coupling did that, and I have a
Really?
soft spot for Coupling. Yeah.
Well, he plays Watson.
Okay. I mean, it seems like so to go back to John Cassavetes, which I mean, I shouldn't be bringing him into a discussion of Love Actually, but
Yeah,
it's the furthest difference I can find, so it makes the contrast and makes my point the easiest.
okay.
So there's this giant book that's just like a bunch of interviews with him compiled, and he says basically there's not really bad acting, there's just bad writing.
Okay.
And so a thing he would do on set a lot is if the dialogue sounded unnatural, he'd go, he'd pause the set and he'd go rewrite the scene so that it didn't sound like shit.
Okay.
And so clearly nobody did this in this movie because it was probably like herding cats trying to get this movie shot. And that's their own damn fault.
For having too
many cooks.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Liam Neeson, I don't think Liam Neeson's a particularly bad actor, but he looks like a very bad actor in a lot of this movie. Like the last few scenes where he's telling his kid to go like run through the airport and run away from cops to go say that he loves this like 11-year-old girl.
Yeah.
There is there a good way to play that scene? Is there a natural way to read any of those lines? Like he's like stuck with a Kobayashi Maru. So maybe to get to the root of what is so awful here, maybe we should go over the history of the romantic comedy a little bit because I feel like we haven't actually covered that many romantic comedies.
Wait, before we get there, just in terms of the present, or at least the present of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I had some thoughts about dialogue.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Although it's a little tangential. So the writer-director, Richard Curtis, what other movies do you think he's written? Or can you guess?
Sophie's Choice.
What's that?
Sophie's Choice.
No.
The Sorrow and the Pity. The Virgin Spring. I'm never gonna guess it.
No, okay, no. Can you think
of Ben Affleck Daredevil?
He has written 4 Weddings and a Funeral, Notting Hill, both the first and second Bridget Jones movies, and then About Time and Yesterday. And I actually liked Yesterday. I thought Yesterday was a neat movie.
Oh, I never saw Yesterday.
Oh, it's about this guy does he's a music writer, but I think does he perform covers of Beatles songs, or I can't remember about that part, but he's trying to write his own stuff. He gets into an accident or something and he wakes up, or I forget what happens. Anyways, he wakes up and he finds that he's in a world in which nobody knows about the Beatles. The Beatles never formed, but he remembers all Beatles songs. So he starts playing them as if they're his own creations, and he ends up becoming like super famous star.
So it's basically like the end of Back to the Future, but if it was the whole movie.
The end of Back.
Right. You remember the end of Back to the Future? Like, it turns out that Michael J. Fox actually invented rock and roll.
Yeah. But yes, this is the guy responsible for the story, character, and dialogue of Notting Hill, obviously Love Actually, 4 Weddings and a Funeral, 2 Bridget Jones movies. Are you surprised?
So this is like the man who killed cinema.
Yeah, but all very popular movies. Oh, I was going to say about dialogue. So yeah, I was trying to watch the latest Star Wars show, Andor. I'm a little behind in watching it. And I've just felt like I've seen almost every Star Wars thing now.
Oh, did you ever see the Ewoks TV show?
Yes, I did.
All
Yes, I did. I watched it when they originally aired.
right. Well, you've seen the holiday special, obviously.
I've seen the holiday special and the Lego holiday special. Did you know that there's a Lego Star Wars holiday special?
I heard about that. Is it like as entertaining as the original? Because I love the original Star Wars holiday special.
It's entertaining, yeah.
Okay.
But I think you have to have watched several of the you had to have watched more than the original three, than episodes 4, 5, and 6. I think to appreciate the I guess it's kind of funny on its own. Oh man, just getting through that thing. It's just there's so much talking and talking and talking, and then a little bit happens, and then talking and talking. And I would be fine with talking.
We run a show that's all talking. The podcast that we're on right now.
Okay. Yeah. But this isn't a movie or TV show.
Mm.
No. Okay, let me make it just to be clear. I'm talking about Star Wars and what I expect from Star Wars. And I'd be fine if all the talk so it's already a little different from other Star Wars stuff. Because there's so little action in it. But the dialogue is on par with most Star Wars movies. That is to say, the dialogue is pretty bad. Star Wars, the original, George Lucas was notorious for his like bad dialogue.
Yeah. Because when I watched New Hope, I rewatched New Hope probably a few years ago. Right, first time I saw it since I was a kid, and I'm like, wow, this acting is bad, but it is the dialogue. Because like Mark Hamill can act; he did a great job as like the Joker on that Batman cartoon. Harrison Ford can act. Carrie Fisher can act. They can all act. It's just George Lucas can't write. George Lucas has never like been in dialogue with a human being, seemingly.
He can't write and he can't direct, but he can do puppets and spaceships really well.
Imagine if his career had been like more like Jim Henson's.
Well, he did pretty well for himself, all things considered.
He did do very well for himself.
Anyways, that was a bit about dialogue. And I lower my standards, or I change my standards. When I'm going to watch a Star Wars movie, it's not the same thing as when I'm going to watch
Love Actually.
Love Actually.
A real movie.
And the same with all the Marvel movies. I go in expecting something different. I don't I don't expect a movie. I expect a roller coaster. I totally agree with Martin Scorsese's commentary. But yeah, I'll watch all kinds of movies.
If you want to hear a discussion about that, there's an hour about that. Check out the episode.
Yeah, in episode number.
It's one of the early ones.
But I have different standards when I go into them, and yet they still occasionally disappoint, despite my changing what I expect from a so-called movie. Anyways, you're going to talk about the history of the rom-com.
Okay, yeah. So the rom-com, although it seems like a thing that's been around forever, it is a semi-modern invention. The first movie that looks like what we would consider to be a rom-com is Frank Capra's It Happened One Night in 1934, won the Best Picture, great movie, can't really hate on that. And you have a lot of great romantic comedies that also, most of them incidentally happen to be screwball comedies, because I think the form is kind of inherently tied to the screwball comedy format. And the further you get away from the screwball comedy format, the less actual, like, you start having stuff like Love Actually, where there's no stakes. It's incredibly unfocused. Like, It Happened One Night, there's basically two main characters the entire movie. And you don't really need more than two main characters in a romantic comedy. Like, maybe, okay, so like in most of the screwball movies, you have like the guy who likes the girl, and then the boring guy that the girl is engaged to, where somehow she has to get out of the engagement because it turns out she likes the guy. And a lot of those are great movies. I'm having a really hard time thinking of what I would consider to be an actually great romantic comedy after maybe like 1950. If you have any ideas, because I don't even think Annie Hall counts, right?
Harold and Maude.
I hate Harold and Maude. Oh my god! But you know what? Harold and Maude is a much better movie than what we just watched.
Yes, I think more more highly of Harold and Maude than you do, but yes,
I think most
Harold
people
and Maude
do.
definitely is better than Love Actually.
I have a hard time separating my feelings about like unsafe driving practices from my feelings about Harold and Maude. Because so much of that movie is basically just Maude trying to kill people with her car. It's
What's up,
basically what's up,
Tom?
I never saw that one.
Oh, okay. Oh, really?
Mm.
Oh, I recommend it.
Okay, is that like 70s?
Yeah, yeah. Barbara Streisand and what's his name?
Robert
O'Neill.
Redford?
No, O'Neill. What's the
The guy in Barry Lyndon, right? Ryan O'Neill.
Yeah, I think it's Ryan O'Neill.
I mean, I guess like Moonstruck has elements of a romantic comedy.
Elements
Yeah,
of.
Moonstruck is basically a romantic comedy.
Yeah.
That wasn't a bad movie.
I haven't seen it since it came out.
I watched it like 2 years ago. I was pretty happy with it. Weirdly enough, Nicolas Cage was kind of the weakest part of that movie, which I was not expecting.
Oh, Dan, there's a movie coming out of is it Renfield? Is that the name? The Dracula's lackey in Bram Stoker's
Sounds
Dracula.
right to me.
So there's a movie coming out. He's the main character. Guess who plays Dracula?
Nicolas Cage.
Yes.
Yes. Oh my God. It's like the sequel to Vampire's Kiss that we never got.
Yeah.
We thought we wanted. That sounds amazing.
Yes, I'm so looking forward to seeing that. I went to the.
We never did Vampire's Kiss on here. Vampire's Kiss is a legit good movie.
Yeah, we should watch that.
That's a great romantic comedy.
Vampire's Kiss?
No, I'm kidding. That's definitely not a romantic comedy.
What about was it? Is it Once Bitten? The one with George Hamilton as Dracula.
Oh, that's not a vampire in Brooklyn.
No, I think it's Once Bitten.
I don't think I ever saw that one.
No,
like I've seen
Nosferatu. Oh no, Once Bitten.
Oh
God, no! How would I confuse the two? Let's see, George Hamilton as Dracula. Love at First Bite with George.
Okay, it's like a Dracula rom-com.
Yeah, it's George Hamilton, Susan St. James, Richard Benjamin, and Dick Shawn. Yeah. Anyways, you were taught. So 1950, you think is the end of rom-com?
The ones that I like, anyway.
Okay. I mean, clearly, there have been plenty of romantic comedies. When Harry Met Sally.
When Harry Met Sally, it's an okay movie. I would not put it up there with like and It Happened One Night or like His Girl Friday or The Awful Truth or like Bringing Up Baby might be the best one of all time. That's a great movie.
Absolutely. Bringing Up Baby is one of my favorite movies ever.
Yeah, because it gets like Friday. The thing that I think this movie didn't get is all these people are too stable and well adjusted. Like a great rom-com, you should almost have the understanding at the end of it, like these people are meant for each other because they're the same kind of crazy. Because that's kind of like, I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's a thin line between love and mental illness a lot of the time, right?
Oh, so you've been watching Bringing Up Baby?
Oh yeah, I've seen Bringing Up Baby at least a few times. Yeah.
Here I've got another one for you.
Yep.
You've Got Mail.
Oh my God. Oh yeah, Shop Around the Corner. Shop Around the Corner is not quite check out our episode on Shop Around the Corner while you're at it. Ninotchka, any of those Labish, like Capra, because Capra I don't think really made a straight up total rom-com after It Happened One Night, but there's always a rom-com element in those movies, except for like Arsenic and Old Lace and It's a Wonderful Life. But yeah, I think part of it comes down to like screwball comedy. So much of it is centered around dialogue, and they had much better screenwriters back then working on these big Hollywood pieces. Most modern movies, like the average cut in a movie, like the average time between the camera cutting is like 2.3 seconds, which gives you no time for dialogue. And so everything kind of feels like skeletal. And you also have actors who are not stage actors. Like I think in screwball comedy, most of those guys started out as stage actors. And I think that style of acting is much more suited to romantic comedies than, like just let's shove a bunch of known actors into a movie. And I think also like in a weird way that like early talkie feel where like the sound recording equipment is so big that you can't move the camera really kind of actually helps a screwball comedy because it ends up shot more like kind of a very energetic stage play.
Uh,
And I'm trying to think about other good romantic. I mean, anything from the '90s, I'm having a hard. Like, I don't think Pretty Woman is a great movie. I don't know. Are you having? You came up with a few of them at least,
yeah, not ones that I necessarily like.
right? Right, but something with some redeeming qualities to it. Because I guess modern rom coms, I kind of just all of them. I guess for some background, my mother watched a lot of television when I was a kid because I now realize she was depressed. And it was always like she would go on the DVR and she would record anything that the TV guide gave 2.5 stars. Anything higher or lower, she usually didn't like, but literally anything that got rated 2.5 stars, she was into it. And so I kind of associate modern romantic comedy with like my mother not getting out of bed watching television all day, which probably does not help my charitability and my viewing of it.
Uh,
So I should, just make that, people who make romantic comedies, I don't think you're bad people, except for the guy who made Love Actually. Um, it's just a lot of, and the other thing like we were noticing in this movie that I think is like not that uncommon for these kinds of movies is there's just a lot of really questionable shit that goes on that's portrayed as being quote unquote romantic.
mhm.
So in this movie, Love Actually, I think probably like 80% of the relationships start out as the man is employing the woman. This power differential. A lot of the behavior is kind of, I mean, I don't know, were there like stalkery elements? I feel like there weren't heavy stalkery elements. There were just a lot of like huge faux pas
Okay.
that seemed unhealthy. So like oh god, the guy who likes Keira Knightley who gets like two scenes and like probably shouldn't be in the movie. Keira Knightley at the beginning of the movie is marrying his best friend. At the end of the movie, he goes up to their door with a bunch of like Jay Leno cue cards to say like fuck my best friend. I think you're really hot. And then she just goes out and kisses him, right? Like, why did she get married a month ago?
Right.
You did that in real life. You're just gonna like fuck up all your social relationships. You know what's kind of a good fucked up? Well, Rita, Sue, and Bob 2 is not a romantic comedy. That is a huge stretch. It's a very
Roman
good
Holiday.
movie, huh?
Roman Holiday. But now we're talking
I don't,
1953.
I
So,
don't know if I saw Roman Holiday.
you've never seen Roman Holiday?
I
Oh,
never liked Gregory Peck, so I avoided it.
what about
But
Audrey Hepburn?
I don't mind Audrey Hepburn.
Oh, damn.
She's not my
Oh,
favorite, but she's good in like Sabrina. I never saw Breakfast at Tiffany's.
are you serious?
Well, maybe we should cover it on the show.
Let's cover it on the show. Racist, Mickey Rooney's racist portrayal of the Japanese neighbor and all. Something that really didn't age well and apparently was
Racism finds
problematic at
Andy
the time.
Hardy.
What was that?
Racism finds Andy Hardy.
Yeah. All right. Have you seen Phantom Thread?
Nope.
You might like Phantom Thread when it comes to romantic comedies.
Okay. Because I like comedies, and I could like when you came to visit, we ended up watching American Pie, right?
Yeah.
I didn't mind that. There were funny parts to that movie.
Yeah, I was actually having a really hard time watching it.
Hmm.
I like it less than you do.
Eugene Levy is really funny in that movie. A lot of the rest of that movie is kind of really problematic.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, totally.
But Eugene Levy is so funny in that movie.
Well, Phantom Thread is imagine Paul Thomas Anderson making a rom-com.
Okay.
And it is Paul Thomas Anderson.
Okay, that could be interesting. I'm trying to think. Coen Brothers never made a rom com. Oh, actually, you know who made a rom com that nobody ever talks about is John Cassavetes. He made a movie called Minnie and Moskowitz.
Mhm.
It's very good, and it feels like a screwball comedy. Like his dialogue is kind of not like classic Hollywood, but it has all the structural stuff in there,
Uh-huh.
and it's a pretty good movie. I guess like I don't know, would you count like Before Sunrise as like it's not really a romantic comedy.
Yeah.
It's sort of like a 2 hour long meet cute.
And what if you take there's three movies together, right?
Yeah, yeah.
What if you combine them?
Man, I don't know if I have that much time these days.
Um,
That would be a long movie. Well, but yeah, I guess like I mean, the last movie is mostly about them like they got married and they realized that they can't stand each other, right?
Wait, say that again?
Well, Before Midnight is basically like they got married and they can't stand each other, right? Like the whole last hour of that movie is them fighting.
Uh-huh.
Um, yeah. Now that I'm thinking about like even the Woody Allen movies, most of those don't really qualify as romantic comedies.
No. Although I'm looking at a list of it's Vanity Fair's 42 best romantic comedies of all time, and it does have Annie Hall at like number 15 or something like that.
Right, and it's not it's a breakup movie. It's there's romance, there's comedy. It's not a romantic comedy in the classic sense.
32. It's number 32 on the list.
Okay, what's their number one?
Number one is When Harry Met Sally.
Okay.
But number two is You've Got Mail. Though interesting choice, number three is Clueless, which
Clueless is a romantic comedy.
that's because it's romance. There's romance and comedy, so it must be a romantic comedy. This list
I don't even
has a
remember the
very
romance
broad
in that
definition of
movie.
romantic comedy.
You know what's a romantic comedy is Welcome to the Dollhouse, right? Because she like gets along with the like weird angry neighbor kid at the end.
Yeah, and there's funny and there's funny stuff in the movie.
Hmm.
So yeah, there's romance, there's comedy. It's a rom-com.
Right, really. So I'm kind of curious what the rest of the list is now.
You want me to read it to you, all of
And
it?
and actually, speaking of You've Got Mail, my mother was obsessed with You've Got Mail. Probably watched it 15 times that I'm aware of. Oh no, okay, Play It Again, Sam would probably qualify as a romantic comedy. But yeah, yeah, read some of them because clearly there's not a whole lot to talk about with Love Actually. It's bad. Don't watch it.
Okay. Oh, you know what? Hey, Love Actually didn't make this list. That's interesting.
It's almost like it was a bad movie.
Yeah, but You've Got Mail is number two on this list.
That's true. Yeah, You've Got Mail is an awful movie.
Okay, there's 42. Why don't I read you why don't I start with number 20?
Oh well.
Down with Love.
Okay, that's a fun movie.
The
Oh, you
Wedding
know what?
Singer.
Pillow Talk. Pillow Talk's a great romantic comedy. And that's like
Okay.
1960.
Ang Lee's The Wedding Banquet. His Girl Friday is number 18.
Okay.
Their Best Friend's Wedding. Julie Roberts and Tom. Oh no, wait. With Julie Roberts and yeah, sorry. Number
Julia
17
Roberts
is
and
My
Max
Best
von
Friend's Wedding.
Sydow.
Then Sleepless in Seattle. Broadcast News. Again, there's romance, there's comedy. I guess it's a rom-com.
You know,
Princess
it's like a
Bride.
good like if we're going with subverting rom com tropes and we're still considering a rom com, Modern Romance by Albert Brooks. That's
Okay.
one of the most screwed up romantic comedies ever.
Why isn't it on this list? Why aren't Modern Romance and Love Actually on this list? All right, number 14 is The Princess Bride.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Wait, no, it gets better though. Number 13, Coming to America.
I could see that.
Yeah. All right, number 12, It Happened One Night is number 12 on the list. Right above it,
Okay.
Notting Hill.
Yeah, 12 seems kind of low.
Yeah. But at least Roman Holiday made it into top 10.
Okay.
Then there's Love and Basketball.
Never saw that
Groundhog
one.
Day. What's Up,
Groundhog Day,
Doc?
really? Okay.
10 Things I Hate About You. Number 5 is Phantom Thread. That's why I brought it up, that it showed up on here. Like, that's a really interesting choice, but it's a very twisted romantic movie. I guess I don't know if rom-com's the right. No, it's a very twisted rom-com. Yeah, okay. Okay. I buy it. I don't want to describe it because I actually don't want to. If you are going to watch it, I don't want to tell you what it's about.
Well, it's about like a guy and a girl getting together, right?
Right. So yeah. Oh, damn! I just spoiled it for you. Spoiled it for yourself. Number 4 is Bridget Jones' Diary, and then number 3 is Clueless. Number 2 is You've Got Mail, and number 1, When Harry Met Sally.
Okay, I mean, when Harry Met Sally does check the boxes, it is a romantic comedy. I think
Which one?
when Harry Met Sally is
Oh
at
yeah,
least it is
absolutely.
a romantic comedy. The Princess Bride, really?
I mean,
I don't know. I haven't
yes.
seen that movie in years and years and years, so I barely remember anything about it. But
I guess I mean the center of the story is the love between Wesley and Princess Buttercup.
wait, that's your name in the movie is Princess Buttercup?
Yeah,
That's so weak.
or Buttercup. I guess she never becomes the princess. Spoiler.
Wait,
um,
so over do they play "Build Me Up, Buttercup" over the end credits? Oh, and actually, okay, decent romantic comedy. There's something about Mary.
oh yeah,
I would say that fits the bill.
yeah. Especially with this Vanity Fair's version of romantic comedy is pretty broad. So yeah, that falls in there too.
Yeah, because I think there's something about Mary. It does check most of the boxes, and I mean that movie is actually pretty funny.
Yeah, yeah. That's Fairly Brothers, right?
Uh
Okay. I didn't like Dumb and Dumber. I couldn't stand it.
huh.
But there's something about Mary is hilarious. I'll go with that. All right, so Love Actually. What else do we have to say about it?
um, actually,
Love.
yeah, I don't know. Don't watch this movie. It is the food is bad and the portions are enormous.
And what do you have to say to the millions and millions and millions of people who watch this movie and actually love it?
You're probably bad people.
So maybe it's better that you don't say anything.
You probably haven't found our podcast.
The one person that I know of that likes this movie, I don't know most people's
Oh,
opinion.
he's a good guy. You know, it's like my mother's not an awful person. You know, my mother's not like a Nazi or something.
Yeah, yeah. So
Um,
my friend that likes it actually, he told me like, please don't think less of me, but I love this movie.
okay,
And
you know what I have to say to them? Go watch It Happen One Night.
oh, okay,
I think that's a more constructive message.
okay. Um, yeah, I'm gonna suggest it to him.
Hmm.
I don't usually suggest movies to people in the same way that I don't suggest books.
Hmm.
Because
I do both of those for a living.
unless you really, really, really know what the person is into, because so much of it is I don't like getting books as gifts.
Hmm.
Well, for starters, if you buy me a book as a gift, then you don't know how little I read. Uh, and how upsetting, not upsetting, but how frustrated I get with books because I have such a hard time reading.
Hmm.
But also, if you give someone a book, it's often not the book that they want, it's the book that you want.
Sometimes I'll give people books if I'm like, okay, nobody ever talks about this. I'm going to propagandize you with this right now. There's a few books like Ice Haven by Dan Close. Anytime I find a copy of that cheap, I buy it. I don't sell it. I give it away because that book is incredible. Nobody ever. I talk about it a lot, but I think I'm like a nation of one there.
Uh-huh.
Usually I'm not going to give them something. Or I gave somebody a copy of Tales of the Hasidim because it's like a bathroom reader, right? Like you can kind of jump anywhere in that book.
Uh-huh.
Usually I'm giving them something where it's like it's not a huge time investment.
Uh-huh.
Although, you know, honestly, the best Christmas gift usually is just money. Like everybody shits on it, but
Yeah, or you give someone an Amazon gift card.
yeah, an Amazon gift card, it's just like money you can spend in less places.
Right, right.
So just handing somebody cash, like, you know, in TV and movies, they always make it out like, you know, you're treating them like a hooker or something. But like, if you just give somebody cold hard cash, they can do whatever they want with it. You know, you can
Right,
go
right.
to the movies, buy crack, whatever you want.
But it can seem crass, but you can't buy a crack on Amazon. So,
Right. Amazon gift card's going to get you exactly this much crack. And for those listening at home, I'm making a zero with my hand.
which is actually forming a white nationalist symbol.
Oh shit!
Because it's the zero, it's the thumb and forefinger touching from
Here we go.
and the other three fingers were separated on top.
Uh-oh. I goofed.
And isn't that awful? Now, anytime you want, or if you
Mm,
give an okay symbol, because
mm,
that's also like okay.
yeah. Like,
They've stolen okay. They've stolen zero and okay.
you know what you can get on Amazon now? I found out
What's that?
donkey meat. They're selling a whole
No,
bunch of donkey meat on Amazon.
no, you're making
There's
this
like a
up.
contra. No, I swear to God, this was in the Guardian last week.
Wow.
So and apparently it's like in things that aren't specifically labeled as having donkey meat.
Huh.
And I guess like as far as like weird meats go, donkey meat's actually pretty nutritious.
Oh, okay.
So I don't want to like shit on it immediately, but it
Uh-huh.
is a little weird.
Can you get beef on Amazon? I guess you must if you can get donkey
Probably,
meat.
yeah. I mean, if you can, because they own Whole Foods.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, all right, all right. Does Whole Foods carry donkey meat?
Probably.
Yeah, I want if
Been a
Amazon
long time since I've been in a Whole Foods.
yes. Who was I just talking to about that? I was comparing don't ask why, but I was
They only
comparing
have
Whole Foods to
organic
my
donkey meat.
coworkers. What was that?
They only have organic donkey meat.
Yeah, right. Did you know that Trader Joe's sells fertilized eggs?
Like for in vitro.
No, chicken eggs.
Oh, chicken eggs where
Fertilized
you just
chicken
have a
eggs.
chicken.
Yeah,
Weird. I was on Hinge and in the one of the women put like my greatest fear is what is it like cracking open a hard boiled egg and a chicken coming out.
go to
So
Trader Joe's.
if I get that date, yeah, that would be the best prank ever.
Yeah.
And I think it would really say like I pay attention to you and I know you.
So I found even like online people describing how you can hatch chickens with Trader Joe's fertilized eggs, even though they're sitting
Crazy.
in the cooler in
Chickens
the
are a
fridge.
lot of fun. They're like kind of mean,
Yeah.
but
They
uh
pack.
yeah, they're not like good pets, but they're really entertaining to watch. Like when I was down south, that was everybody had chickens in their backyard and it was a lot of fun.
Uh-huh.
And they were telling me they won them all in like dice games. It was like I can give you $20 or I can give you two chickens because that's how Virginia and Mississippi work.
You
Like
can't buy crack with a
chickens are like
chicken.
cigarettes are in prison.
But you can't buy crack with a chicken.
Mississippi, you probably could.
Okay. Fair enough.
Um,
So yeah,
uh,
okay. So have you made your peace with Love Actually, or will you never make your
I
peace
mean,
with
I
Love
never
Actually?
have to watch that again, right? Unless
That
I
is
like
true.
meet a woman.
This is the one time in your life where you are obligated to watch Love Actually for the podcast.
Right? I have to watch Love Actually, and the worst part is I have to think deeply about it, right? Like because I have to talk about it on the show afterwards after we finish what we've been doing this whole time. And sometimes, like with The Simpsons, right? Like a lot of times when I'm watching The Simpsons, it's just on.
Uh-huh.
And I thought thinking about that deeply last week, that was actually really rewarding. We got some good stuff out of it.
Yeah. All the stuff
Yes.
about Marge, when I was editing the episode,
Mm.
it's actually ready it's ready to go live. I might push it tomorrow.
Yeah, because I feel like that's going to be one of our better episodes. Like I felt pretty good about that after we finished it.
Especially me falling asleep. Um,
But this movie, the more you think about it, the more your head hurts. And just thinking about like, okay, there's people who watch this and don't understand that all of this is not behavior to be emulated. Like, don't propose to somebody a month after you meet them. That's always a bad idea. You know, don't fuck your secretary or your housekeeper or your other secretary. There's like two secretaries that get fucked in this movie. There's the prime minister's whatever position that woman has in the cabinet,
oh yes.
and
In his household.
mhm. And
Yeah.
yeah, and there's the guy where he gets divorced, and then the Portuguese woman shows up to clean his shit, and then you know what it is that okay, I've said that like five times because there's a lot of things wrong with this movie, but the difference between a good and a bad romantic comedy is do I feel like I have seen a believable journey from these people not really knowing each other to these people having a shared language? And a
Mm.
lot of rom coms, it's just sort of they meet, maybe there's a scene of them arguing or whatever, and then magically the next scene it's like, I love you and I can't live without you. And that's not really how life works. That's codependency.
Yeah. All right. Any last thoughts about Love Actually?
Uh, it was crap, actually. It's no, there's so many better movies you could watch. We've done episodes on a lot of them. If you just need like a cheesy, silly comedy, there's plenty more of those that are much, much better. All About Steve is a much better movie. There's literally hundreds of better movies than this you could pick out, and they're not all dark and depressing or whatever. You could have some light fun with them. This is just a bad movie that goes on way, way, way too long.
Yeah. Oh
Do
my
you, do you
God.
have any final thoughts about it?
If I wish I had checked how long the movie was, I didn't realize it was going to be 2 hours and 14 minutes. That's not what I was looking for on a weeknight.
It's like an elephant with diarrhea.
Yeah.
Um,
Any last thoughts? You know, I understand why this movie was so popular and why so many people like it.
you
Why
do?
it's such a popular
I,
Christmas.
I don't.
Really?
I
Well,
don't
do you
get.
understand why, say, Jones' Diary or Four
I
Weddings?
never saw Bridget Jones. I don't categorically hate all Christmas movies. Like It's a Wonderful Life is a great movie.
No. I'm not listing Christmas movies.
Oh, okay.
I mean in terms of rom-coms.
Oh, like modern rom
Christmas here is
coms.
just it didn't have to be at Christmas. That was just a way of connecting things.
Modern right. There honestly aren't very many modern rom coms that I like.
No. Not that you like, but do you understand why they're so popular? Why this movie? Because you said you didn't understand why this movie was so popular.
Well, they used to add lead to gasoline, so there was a lot of that in the air for a very long time.
Nah, it was mostly unleaded by that point.
Oh, okay. I don't understand it.
So what about, do you understand why, say, Four Weddings and the Funeral was so popular? Or You've Got Mail.
You've got mail is popular because most people have very shallow understandings of what partnership and love are, and they want some kind of fantasy about being an attractive person with a lot of money.
Does that apply to this movie?
Pretty much.
Okay. You do understand it.
That's what you were gonna say.
No.
Oh, what were you gonna say?
Oh, I don't know why. I mean, no, I mean, I get the feel for it. I can, the sentimentality and there's the semblance of a connection between people, and a little bit of a semblance of struggle to get there. The only struggle being how do they express it to each other? Not like well, with the exception of the cheating, the possibly cheating husband.
Oh yeah, they fucking copped out on that.
Yeah, totally. There's a semblance of a struggle in that the people have to figure out how to tell the other person how they feel, and it's very sentimental, no question about that. I mean, it's dripping with sugar all over the place, except that it's not sugar, it's aspartame.
It's like Sweet and Low, yeah.
Yeah, it's sweet and low.
Okay, I did think of a great romantic comedy after 1950, but it finished.
Well, I was just gonna say sweet and low. So, people who drink Diet Coke, they really like the taste of Coke, but they don't want the calories. So they put up with something that that has a semblance of Coke, but it actually just tastes like that nasty shit that they put in there in order
The
to
news called it crack. We called it Diet Coke.
right.
The clips.
Okay, you were gonna say.
Okay, The Apartment, Billy Wilder, Jack Lemmon, Shirley MacLaine. That's a great romantic comedy.
That was on the list. That was on the Vanity Fair list. It was further down the list, so I didn't read that one. I was surprised to see it on there, but I'm like, yeah, that's a romantic
I
comedy.
mean, we should cover that at some point. That's a really good movie.
Yeah, I'd totally be up for watching that again. I haven't watched that I saw it 15 years ago, probably.
Yeah, all those Billy Wilder movies, like even his later stuff, like The Private Life of Sherlock Holmes or Avanti, or this kind of like sketch comedy movies he did towards the very end of his career. It's all really good.
Okay.
He did his own version of Doctor Strangelove, basically. I think it's called 1, 2, 3. Cool. All right. So I'm still Dan.
And I'm still Ron.
Don't watch Love Actually. But this has been a many questionable movies. So yeah, go home. Well, you're probably home now if you're listening to this. Just do literally anything else. Walk your dog.
You could be on the train from Berlin to somewhere like out in the middle of nowhere listening to this. So if you are, hey.
Yeah. Oh, that's
board.
why so many people watch this movie, because they took a train to the middle of nowhere and it was the only movie there.
Right.
Cool. All right. So we'll see you on the internet.
Take care, everyone.